Alright boys, so we are playing Etheria Restart today. This is the final closed beta, and I really wanted to make this video closer to the end of the beta, so I'd be closer to more of the end game content, but unfortunately the closed beta ends in about 3 to 4 days on the 19th of May, and as of the recording of this video, it is the 15th. I'm going to be busy this weekend, so I figured now would be the most optimal time for me to make the video. And I'm just going to do a basic account overview of the progression I made in the last week of playing Etheria Restart. And believe it or not, this closed beta is actually a paid one. So if you want to actually spend money, I believe some of the, top-up bonuses will carry over. Or there's some sort of conversion. You have to look it up on their official social media. But yeah, you can choose to pay on this closed beta test. I chose not to, obviously, because I am free to play. Alright, first off, I guess I'll just go over the characters that I've pulled and built up. I did participate in the previous closed beta test. On that account, I decided to all-in Tiamat, which is a character that performs as a tank, and they're of the, the blue or odd affinity. This time around, I decided to not pick up Tiamat from the selector summon. So starting off with this character, is it Borgne or I'm gonna call him Borgne or Dog Dude. Anyways, he's a new character that just came out in the recent beta, and he has quite a unique kit in a way that he is one of the first characters in Etheria Restart that actually cannot crit. He's one of those non-crit characters. And he was the first 5-star I actually pulled from a random 10 pull. And I was looking at his kit and I was quite interested. I wanted to try a different blue unit other than Tiamat, and he was one of the characters that I was interested in, so I decided to build him up. He's performing alright. I feel like the more investment you put into him, the more he's going to perform. That's honestly true with pretty much any character, but I think it's specifically very true for him, because you don't need to build any crit on him. All you need to do is to build a bunch of attack, and his attack gets converted into max HP, and he has both attack and max HP damage scaling. So as you can see here, this is his passive. He increases his max HP by percentage of his self-attack. So, like I said, his build is just a bunch of attack with some maybe HP subs built in, with maybe some defense as well. I actually don't know if my build's entirely optimal on him. All I did was slap a bunch of attack percentage on him. So I'll show you guys my modules. These are essentially your relics or gear if you play Honkai Star Rail. I have them on these pieces here. As you can see, that's all attack bonus as the main stat. And then the sets are onslaught, speed, and harvest. So some speed, some attack. Honestly, I'm probably building him wrong. He probably needs a little bit more speed. I've been noticing that unless I somehow pair him with another character called Lily that gives him a speed buff, he almost doesn't take any turns because just of his low amount of speed that I built on him. Maybe this can be fixed if you put him on a counter set, which is the Bramble set in this game. And that might be a different build that you can actually build on him. But anyways, this is his skills. I don't have enough Latice. I actually could level him up, but I put all the these premium perfect Latice on my Leanne. For this specific beta playthrough, I decided to all in Leanne as my character to see how far I can progress with a very strong Leanne. Which is something I want to do in the previous beta, but I ended up just all-inning Tiamat, and that helped me more in PvP, but not so much in terms of PvE progression. And this is his shell. Alright, moving on to Gray. He's one of the first SR characters you get for free, and honestly, he is one of the most cracked SR characters, especially for PvE. He'll get you through a lot of the content. Just having this crit rate buff for your entire team is absolutely insane, along with a 100% defense break. Not to mention he's an SR, so you can actually invest into his skills fairly easily with little to no cost. On the previous beta, I built him up initially and then reversed his build to take his resources to put into other characters. For this one, I wanted to specifically focus on him and Leanne and have those two try and carry. I wanted to see how far they could carry me in PvE, and they've done a pretty good job. There's only like a few parts of PvE that I'm currently stuck in, but if I had made better choices in terms of character building and selection, that probably would have been able to fix that. Anyways, let's go over his modules. They're alright. I don't have a full set of plus 15 or level 15 gear on him yet. Still working on that. But he's on a full piece speed rush set or swift rush set for the speed set, and then an 8-piece onslaught. So he's like, essentially, he is my sub DPS as well as debuffer. And his skills are fully maxed out. These are his quote unquote like dupes or eidolons if you play Star Rail. And then for his shell, he has the same shell as the dog dude, the Twilight Knight. Alright, moving on to my Leanne, who is my most invested into character. I wanted to do this just to see how far she could push me in PvE. She's actually not even that bad in terms of PvP early on, before everyone builds up their team to be more of a standard or tank down team. Right now, currently, the meta is to build really tanky with Tiamat, and that's where Leanne sort of falls off in the late game. But early on and mid game, you can still play pretty aggressively and cleave with her. But the most important thing is she's really good in a lot of the PvE content because she does so much damage. Anyways, these are her stats. Her gear is almost maxed out. It could use more improvement later on down the line. We're not at the end game yet. I would say at around my current level, this is probably the beginning of end game or close to the end of mid game. So these are her gears. Some of the substats are kind of dog, but honestly, mid game you don't really have much of a choice or can be too picky with it. And this is where I put a lot of my investment into her. Before, I would only max out, I think in the previous beta, I only maxed out her ultimate when it comes to skills. This current beta, I decided to all in her. I probably did it wrong too. I think I should have maxed out her basic because, honestly, I think the majority of her DPS or damage output after she ults comes from her basic attack, because you'll be using it more frequently, and it also gives her the attack now. Versus her skill, it can be very RNG because it's a bounce attack. It's better on single targets if you're fighting a boss, because the bounces will only hit the boss. But if you're in AoE, sometimes your run actually gets screwed up by the bad RNG. So I feel like if you're going to max her second skill, it'd probably be the last option. But regardless, I put a lot of investment into my Leanne. And then she also has one of the end game pets, the mythic tier, with some pretty this is some pretty insane rolls. Red attack percent. The speed is alright, and then we got so lucky with this. This is a reason damage boost, which is the red attribute, which she is. Yeah, reason. So I'm not gonna lie, this shell is pretty nasty. It probably would have been even better if I managed to roll crit damage on the second slot, but I ran out of resources at the time, so I didn't want to bother with it. Alright, on to Lilith. She is actually the second SSR I pulled from a random 10 pull on the standard banner. I was looking at her kit, and she was one of my candidates to be chosen from the selector summon. You get to actually pick a 5-star of your choice that is not a Moonlight from that selector summon, and she was one of the candidates, but I ended up pulling her just randomly from a 10 pull. So we ended up building her up. Unfortunately, I feel like her performance isn't as up to standard as I would like. Even with like moderate investment, she just doesn't deal as much damage as I would like. Specifically on a game mode called Doki Doki. It's one of the quote-unquote like equipment farm. It's like your relic, one of your relic domains. She wasn't doing enough damage on that specific stage. Where she lacks in damage, she does make up for in bulk and utility, because she's able to slow and stun sometimes the opponents, and she also has a decent AoE, although it has a very long cooldown if you don't have them skilled up. So, like I said, I think in order for her to actually be viable later on in the game, you need to put some skill investment into her, which kind of sucks because those perfect Latices, they don't come by very easily. And I feel like there's just better hollow or green units that are out right now. There's one in particular, I forgot her name, but everyone is using her to clear higher levels of Doki Doki. But Lilith, she just doesn't have the damage output. Even though she has the stun that reduces the damage reduction on Doki, I just feel like it's not really worth putting all the investment into her to make her work. So I kind of stopped building her. That's why she's a 5-star. And I decided to work on other people like the dog, Ray, and Leanne. Anyways, let's go over her gear real quick. It's honestly pretty bad. But like I said, I kind of stopped using her about like a few days ago. So there's that. Skills, a little bit leveled up. And then this is one of the early game shells that I gave to her. One of the better ones too is purifying debuffs is kind of a thing. And it's honestly pretty broken. There's a mythic pet that I'll go over later on. That's basically a better version of this. Alright, next is my Freya, who is currently the Raid Up banner. It's not a limited banner, it's just like she's a standard character you can pull from standard summons, which is actually what I ended up doing. I didn't pull her from her banner, I got lucky from a random temple. But she's one of the banners that's up right now, and one of the newer characters they introduced in this recent closed beta. She is pretty good, pretty damn solid. I would not say she's like best in slot for anything. She does a little bit of everything. She has an attack buff and a special debuff called Nightmare that allows you to deal more damage and lifesteal basically off the enemy. And then she has a defense buff and a special buff called Dreamweave. It basically is a cleanse, one instance of cleanse. And then on her basic, she can either give your teammate the Dreamweave buff or apply the Nightmare debuff. So she is a support buffer slash debuffer all built into one. There are a lot of characters that do what she does, but better. But she does everything. Like, she has all of their kits put into one, but she doesn't do it as well as the other characters. Doesn't mean she's a bad character. She is very good in a lot of PvE stages. And for PvP, she's also decent. But there are better choices when it comes to that. AKA like Lily, we will be going over after her. So honestly, I'm a little bit on the fence about whether or not I should try to just all in and pull her on the official release of her banner. I feel like she's really good, but if I end up pulling like... There are plenty of SR characters that can also fit her place, like Chiaki. It's just a budget version, and Chiaki's better in certain scenarios over Freya anyways. Regardless, mine is built really fast. I don't know if that's like super fast, maybe for the mid game, but she is my fastest character with all the best speed gear available. This one has 11 speed. That one's not too good. This one's got 9, and it still can roll. This one's got 10, 5, not that great, and then 8. Skills, just minimum of investment. And then for a shell, I have this one with a little bit of extra speed on this, so that's always nice to have. Alright, next is Lily, who I pulled a few days ago, and I was really surprised and honestly pretty happy about it. Because she, honestly, in my opinion, is one of the greatest supports in the game. That's an ML5. So, I built mine up. She's not super fast. I speed tune her to where she is a little bit slower than Ray. So Ray can actually get a turn off before Lily, because I had a situation, or my team before was Freya, Ray, Lily, and Lien. But I had my Lily a little bit too fast, faster than Ray. And what would happen in auto battle is she would use her skill 2 on Lien, and that would actually end up pushing Lien past Ray. So she would use her skill 3, her ultimate, the big nuke, before Ray could apply the crit rate buff and the defense break on the opponent. So speed tuning is kind of a huge thing. So that's why I ended up making my Lily slower than most Lilies. Most people just run as fast as possible on Lily, their best speed gear. She's kind of like an opener. Mine is speed tune in a way that my team actually works against most of the PvE content. Anyways, these are her modules. Mediocre modules, honestly. This one's like pretty bad, but it was like the first red piece I got, so I maxed it out. She is one of those characters where she will actually get a lot stronger. Her skills, like it resets the cooldown. The damage isn't that important either, but just having a lower cooldown on her skills and stronger buffs, and her skill 1 is also really nice. It turns the assist, which is essentially a dual attack, into 100%. And it also gives her speed nodes here to make her even faster. So she's one of those characters where after you finish building your initial damage dealer, or all-inning your damage dealer, you want to be using your Perfect Lattice on her skills instead. But I'm not going to have enough before the beta ends. This is her shell. Same as the one Freya has, just, what do you call it? Much worse passive effects, but it's fine. Next we have Sanya, who is actually one of the SRs that I really hope I end up pulling just randomly from any 10 pull when the game launches, because she is by far, in my opinion, there's a few of the healers that came out, like some of the newer healers that I haven't tested out. But out of all the SRs, and even Ling Lo, in my opinion, she's probably one of the best healers in the game. And she's very low investment. You can skill up her skills with little to no cost, and her build's very easy to build. All she needs is a bunch of HP, effect res, and a decent amount of speed. Anyways, these are her gears. Skills, like I said, very easy to max up. Currently working on them. Maybe not the skill 1. You could probably ignore this if you don't care about the turn meter boost or the extra speed. But her skill 3 and skill 2, you should max those out. And it's also easy to get her dupes, even though this doesn't really matter for PvP. It does help out in a lot of the endgame PvP. I mean, not PvP, PvE. And then she has this shell, which I think they nerfed from the previous, what do you call it, beta? Because I remember, if I remember correctly, it was 3 debuffs that got dispelled. We did not have the effect resist buff that we got. Instead, I think this healed. Either way, I remember it being 3 debuffs. And then I don't know whether or not it healed or not, but we didn't get the effect resist buff for every debuff that got dispelled. Honestly, I would prefer it just to have 3 debuffs, because sometimes you get into situations where you just get overstacked by debuffs, and that extra dispel may or may not help you out. And the effect resist, honestly, like, it doesn't really help if you're like hard CC'd. If you're already like locked down and then you get the effect resist, it's not gonna save you. So I feel like this overall might be a nerf to what the previous pet was, or the previous shell was. It's still a very good shell overall, just for cleansing. Alrighty, and now we are on to this character. Oh boy, Marvel. He's a new SR, and honestly, he caught me off by surprise. I did read, he was like one of the few, first SRs I pulled too from a random 10 pull. And when I initially read his kit, I was like, okay, he's got some speed debuffs, some resist debuffs, he pushes back turn meter. It's alright. And then I actually fought him in PvP, and this guy is an absolute degenerate. And he's also insane in certain PvE comps as well. If you're able to, he's just crazy. Like, I currently use him on my, what do you call it, Terramaton team. It's one of the endgame, like, gear grinding stages. And I can basically run him with Leanne and Freya. Leanne, Freya. I guess Lily helps out as well. But what ends up happening is the boss never gets to take a turn, essentially. Because this guy pushes back the boss so much, provides a speed debuff. And then Leanne also pushes and steals turn meter as well. And then every time you debuff the enemy or gain a buff, Freya pushes, or the enemy gets pushed back and you get pushed up. So essentially Marvel is just if you play Honkai Star Rail, he is a cracked version of Welt. He essentially makes your enemy or the boss never take a turn. It is actually disgusting how broken this character is. And he's an SR too, so you can skill up his skills. I still have to actually upgrade his skill 1 for the extra 12 speed that he gets, along with the, what do you call it, additional action steal from his skill 1. So he can even steal action and push back your opponents with just a skill 1. It's kind of ridiculous. These are his relics or modules. Mine is pretty poorly built, especially if I want to use him PvP. He's too slow. But his speed is good enough for PvE. A lot of the endgame PvE that I'm using right now, or doing right now. And I went over his skills already. Still need to max out the skill 1. And then for shell, I have him on Gigabyte, but I feel like this is not a really good shell on him. He probably wants one of those shells that advances forward, like the one I have on Freya and Lily. But this one, I just had a bunch of copies of it, and I decided I wanted to build it up and test it out. This is probably better on a slower support or a bruiser that doesn't have a lot of speed. So whenever the enemies take their turns, they get pushed up. It's essentially like, if you play Epic 7, it's like Warhorn, but in the form of a weapon or shell or artifact. Alright, we're on to Hellkid, who was the character or SSR I selected for the Selector Summon. And I sort of regretted it. He's not a terrible SSR. He has his purpose and his roles both in PvP and PvE. But he's kind of unnecessary for my account. I don't think I needed to pull him. If anything, I needed to pull a green unit that deals a lot of damage that could allow me to clear the Doki Doki dungeon, which is what I'm struggling with right now. Where Hellkid shines is in a boss stage called Terramaton, and I can already clear it all the way up to the second highest difficulty with just a very broken or heavily invested Leanne. So Hellkid kind of just, I don't really need him. What he does is he gives a shield to your team on his S3. and the shield scales off his attack. So he's like a sub DPS that also functions as a support or like shield sustainer. But it got to the point where I can like I said earlier, there's no point in using him when I can just use an SR like Marvel that can literally prevent the boss from ever taking a turn. Essentially, we're running like a sustainless team and still clearing the PvE content without needing an actual sustain. An actual sustain, that's an SSR that's going to require more resources to build up and more investment. Because if you have a Hell kit like mine who is half-ass built like this, I kind of stopped gearing him after like day 3. He doesn't do anything. He just straight up dies. He needs to be fast, or not really fast, but fast enough to cut the boss to get the shield up. And he has to have enough attack to where the shield won't break. Otherwise, once again, he just does absolutely nothing. So he's an SSR. He requires more investment than other characters, like the SR character I went over. So I feel like it was kind of a mistake. If I were going to put this much investment into a character, I want them to be able to carry me through either PvE content or PvP. And he is not currently one of those characters that is cutting it. This is just a random shell that I built up in the early game. So he's kind of just sitting there. I probably will not be picking... If I pull him on a random 10 pull when launch starts, I'll be happy. But I probably will not build him up right away as one of my priority characters. Alright, as for the remainder characters I'm going over for this account overview, I don't have them built, but that doesn't mean they're bad characters. Starting off with Heinrich. I'm not building him because I already built him in the previous closed beta that I attended or played, and he is really good. He is, in general, one of the best damage dealers in the game for both PvE and PvP content. And the fact that he's a dark element means he can be used in pretty much any stage of any PvE content in this game. So I already have experience with him, and if I pull him on launch, I'll be extremely happy, and I'll definitely build him up. Alright, next is Doki Doki, who is the other ML5 support character in the game, and she is also really, really strong. Why am I not building her up? Because I already tried her out in the previous closed beta. Her ability to push up your team, as well as give this damage buff and speed buff, along with, I believe she also has something that purifies, or cleanses? Is it the data stream, actually? No, it's the backup buff. That's right. She's able to purify. So she functions as a buffer, a cleanser, and just a really strong general character. And I believe she's also one of the fastest characters in the game, if I believe. Let me see. What's her base speed? Oh, no. 110. That's okay. But you can still build her, like, moderately fast, and she'll carry you through a lot of the content. I had a Doki built up in the previous beta, like I said before, so I have a general idea of how she works. So if I end up pulling her on the official launch, I'd be really happy as well. As for Ling Lo, you get her for free after 7 days of playing. I believe I got mine either yesterday or today. I forgot. Anyways, that's the reason why she isn't fully built up. She is by no means a bad character. A very, very useful healer. In fact, there is a specific stage that I'm stuck on right now because I don't have my Ling Lo built up. It's one of those stages where it's like a specific effect that takes effect where my team needs to have 5 or more buffs in order for them to deal crit damage. And she's one of those characters that gives immunity and can also extend buff durations. And she's also a really good healer. So I'm going to need her for that stage, but I'm probably going to stop playing the closed beta, or the beta might end before we have her fully built up. Anyways, I will definitely be building her up on official launch as my secondary healer, or maybe even my primary healer if we get super unlucky and don't pull Sonya. Not a bad character at all, and really grateful that we get her for free in the game. I pulled Veronica a few days ago. Pleasant surprise. She is definitely an amazing character, especially design-wise. Not a bad character either, although the problem with Veronica is she's not really worth building early on. Her kit is mostly built for endgame PvP to counter specific units. For PvE progression early on, I don't think she's going to really serve you that well. She has like a couple of nice buffs in here and there, and a nice attack down, but her main purpose is just to strip buffs from the enemy team or enemy opponent. She might be useful in specific PvE scenarios, but overall, as like a pure damage dealer that will help you burst through PvE content, she's just not it. Oh, poor Chiaki. She is one of the best SRs in the game, in my opinion, and I'd be really happy if I pulled her on the official launch. I always end up getting this character, just like the last closed beta. I build them up a little bit, and then I end up pulling a SSR like Freya. Or in the previous beta, it was what was the limited rate up? I forgot her name. Sort of looks like a budget silver wolf. I'm sure you guys know who I'm. Oh, it's Kloss. Kloss. Yes, there you go. She's more of a debuffer. But I ended up pulling those two characters, and Chiaki kind of just I kind of stopped paying attention to her and building her. But that does not mean she's bad at all. And the fact that she's an SR means that you can skill her up. And her skill ups are actually really, really useful. Especially this one right here. You can actually overstack the attack buff and get another buff. So she's another buff stacker on top of that. And she also cleanses too and pushes action advance forward. Definitely not a bad character. If I end up pulling her, I might actually just end up skipping Freya instead on the official launch because she's just such a good SR with little to no investment as the early game gear I had on her, and I haven't touched her skills yet. And one of the early game shells, so I guess she is technically the last character I built up. Alright, next is Kraken, and I absolutely hate this character for his playstyle. I do not like the CC type of playstyle or crowd control based playstyle. I think it's absolutely the most degenerate type of playstyle, even worse than tank down. I would honestly rather fight a tank down team than anyone that plays CC. For those of you guys who like this playstyle, screw you guys. You guys are terrible people. But he's not a bad character, obviously, if you like this type of playstyle. He just basically locks down the opponent, and they don't get to do anything. Probably will not build him, just because of this. Unless I really need him in specific PvE content, which is unlikely. Alright, next is Valerian. She is actually probably my favorite character, design-wise, in this game. I already built her in the previous beta. She is pretty solid. A little bit niche. She's not used everywhere, but her mechanic where she prevents your team from dying is pretty nice. There is not a single character in this game right now that does what she does, and for that I think she is worth building up. But I already tested her out in the previous beta, so we unfortunately are not going to be building her. And I think Obo is going to be probably the last character I go over, as I wanted to build him, but I never got around to it, and I don't think DOT is that strong in the game currently, unless you maybe pull the Moonlight version of Sanya and pair her along with Obel, then they might make a really strong combo. But aside from that, he's a pretty decent character. He has DOT and I think stun too, so you basically, yeah, he has stun, so you basically pair him with Kraken, and you're gonna have the most degenerate CC lockdown team in the game. That's another reason why I don't like probably building him or using this character in general. So I'm probably not going to build him up. But just to be noted, he is a really good SR if you're interested in investing into him. Alright, I guess to wrap things up for this account overview, I'm going to go over the different PvE stages that I've managed to clear up to. Grim Pursuit, this is where you farm your pets or shells. I've cleared all the way up to Shadowflame Hoyan, up to Hell. I am a little bit short in terms of damage for Hell. I can almost clear it. But I think the main gimmick for this stage is either you have enough damage to just burn through it, or you need to bring a character that can stun to prevent this boss from counterattacking, because there is a chance that Shadowflame Hoyan will counterattack, and it does quite a bit of damage. That's how my team actually ended up getting wiped. So probably in the next couple of days when my gear gets upgraded, I'll probably be able to clear this boss. Alright, moving on to Threshold. For Terramaton, I've managed to clear all the way to Hell 4. Inferno actually doesn't even unlock until level 50. I can clear Hell 4, but not on auto. I think I cleared it a couple of times on manual, but obviously that's not very optimal. Although, to be fair, on launch, I'm not going to be doing full stamina refreshes like I'm doing on the beta, because I feel like that's just a waste of gems, especially if you're free to play. You cannot afford to keep doing it every single day. If you're spending in the game, obviously that's the best for fast progression, but if you're not spending, you're eventually going to run out of these Hydro Crystals. They do not, there's not going to be enough daily income for you to refresh 10 times a day. Regardless, I managed to clear all the way to Hell 4, and that's mostly due to my heavily invested Leon, along with my really annoying but very effective pushback team. As for Doki Doki, in the previous beta, I was able to clear all the way. It's actually funny, it's the exact opposite. The previous beta, I think I got stuck on Terramaton 3 or something? And then now I'm stuck on Doki held 3 for this playthrough because I don't have a very strong green unit. And the previous beta, I was able to clear all the way up to Hell 4 because my Tiamat was able to just basically... I all-in in Tiamat, and she's just able to face tank and clear Doki. It takes a long time because Tiamat's not exactly a damage dealer. She's more of a tank, but she does deal damage and can self-sustain. And as you can see, the character that I should have picked for my SSR selection is this character right here, Remoka. She is essentially the better version of Lilith in this game's version. She does a lot of damage, mostly AoE, and she deals even more damage upon a kill. So the more investment you put into her, the more damage she's going to do. And look at some of these clear times. They're like under a minute. So it's pretty good. So that's what I'm missing right now for my Doki team. I'm missing a pure damage dealer. I already have Gray built up, and I also have supports that can support Gray and the main damage dealer. I see a lot of people using Kraken, so I guess they're also doing like hard CC, but nah, I'm not going to build Kraken. I hate that dude. I hate that character's playstyle. But yeah. So the current issue I have right now with Doki is I don't have a green damage dealer that can clear the stage. Leanne carried me early on. Leanne can actually do Doki pretty well all the way up to Nightmare 3. And then once you get into Hell, the enemies are so tanky, and they also deal so much damage to the opposite element, the Reason Nemesis, that Leanne just ends up dying on the second wave. So Leanne kind of hits a wall, even no matter how much investment you put into her, once you get to Hell difficulty. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm stuck on Doki 2, and then I can't even do Doki 3. A bit unfortunate, but had I made a better choice on the selector and picked Remoka, I think my account will be in a much stronger place. And the last threshold is Aurora. I don't have too much experience, even from the last beta, doing this boss. I did clear up to Hell, I believe, but in the current beta, I'm only able to clear up to Nightmare 3. And it's mostly a DPS check. I might be able to clear it a little bit more. I haven't done it in a while. It's been like maybe a couple of days since I actually attempted this boss. But I think for this boss, you just need to have a healer. That's not Sonya, because she is the odd... or is this odd element? Let me check. Anyway, she's the red element, and Sonya's green, so that won't work. So basically, I think the trick to clearing this domain is I need to build up Ling Low, which I haven't done. So makes this boss a little bit more difficult. But this is more of an endgame, what do you call it, PvE content. You're mostly going to be stuck in Doki for the most part for the speed set. And then early on, you want to be farming Teramaton for the Onslaught set and maybe some of the healer and HP sets. Because I've learned from previous experiences, if you don't give your DPS characters a Onslaught set, they don't do nearly as much damage as if you were to put them on, like, let's say a full speed set, which is what I did in the previous beta on my Leanne. She was on mostly speed. She was faster, obviously, but she didn't have enough damage to nuke down the endgame stages like Teramaton. I don't think I really need to go over the investigation and GP outposts. These are pretty easy PvE stages that eventually, once you've built up your characters, you'll be able to clear through all the stages. Okay, this is where I'm stuck right now on this. Although, to be fair, I didn't really try too much initially. It's only like the last couple of days where I had a little bit more free time to start pushing on this. But this particular stage has me cooked because, what do you call it? The special mechanism only allows your teammates to crit when your Animus has 5 or more buffs. And I don't have enough buffs to keep this up. And the amount of damage my team actually does is like really low without the crit. Unless I'm running the dog dude that I mentioned in the beginning. But mine isn't built up to the level where I'm able to clear this on Nightmare. So I'm kind of literally just stuck at this point until I build Ling Low. Because she'll be able to allow us to keep up 5 buffs at a time. And then we'll be able to DPS our way through this. So basically, the key to this stage is have a lot of buffers, have a lot of characters that can keep your buffs up, as well as cleanse your team. Because I believe there's Kraken on the stage as well. So that's where I'm stuck at. Eventually, we'll get through it. Amber Trek is basically your abyss for this game. Like an abyss dungeon with a bunch of floors. I don't really like this type of PvE content, and I tend to put it off. That's why I'm only on floor 8. But it shouldn't be that. It will probably get more difficult the lower the stages, but I can definitely push probably a few more floors, but I'm just too lazy to do it. Probably push a lot harder upon the official launch. Ethernet Rally. It says multi-team adventure. It's basically, it's like a map. I can show you real quick. I'm not going to do it though because once again, I'm too lazy to do it. It's a map where you can fight different enemies or go to different nodes and get buffs or collect support animuses or characters. But certain fights are locked between different elements. So for instance, this particular area, I can only use green and light units. So this is a more of an end, not really end game, but mid to end game mode where you need to have a lot of characters or different type of element characters built up. And obviously, for a free-to-play account early on, that's not going to happen unless you try to spread your resources too thin, which I would not recommend for any beginner player. You want to invest in only a few characters and invest heavily in your damage dealers. That way you're able to clear out some of the more important content. As for this, yeah, you won't be able to clear very far, but the rewards compared to something like the module grinding or the pet grinding, it's not nearly as important. Alright, and I believe that's pretty much all I want to cover in this account overview. Really going to be excited for official launch. Let me know in the comments below. Did you guys participate in this closed beta or the last closed beta and what your account looks like? And if you guys are excited for the official launch of Etheria Restart. But other than that, I'll see you guys in my next video. Take care and peace.